The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. They told us it was a ghost. They told us it was invisible. $100 million US miracle of Western engineering that no radar could touch. But as we say in the village, the hunter who thinks he is invisible forgets that the forest has eyes. On March 19, 2026, the forest of Iranian air defense didn't just see the American F-35, it touched it, it rattled it, it forced the pride of the US Air Force into a desperate emergency landing. While Washington generals stand at podium claiming Iran's defenses are flattered, the reality on the ground is screaming something else. Today we are pulling back the curtains on the engine war, the fall of the stealth myth. U.S. Central Command and Captain Tim Hawkins have confirmed it. An F-35A Lightning II flying a combat mission over central Iran was hit. They call it suspected fire, but the IRGC is already showing the receipt. How did they do it? The West relies on radar stealth, but Iran spent decades under sanction developing passive infrared sensors. They don't look for a radar reflection, they look for the heat of the engine. Even a ghost has a heartbeat, and even a stealth jet has thermal signature. This is a turning point. If the F-35 can be hit by a nation under 40 years of sanctions, what does that say about indestructible American shield? A big name doesn't pull the ports. The F-35 has the name, but Iran just brought the fire. In the last 24 hours, the West was moved to a decapitation strategy. They aren't just bombing airfield, they are hunting voices. The RIGC spokesperson, the very man who stood on TV yesterday and gave Iran's missile industry a 100 out of 100 score, has been assassinated. He is the fourth senior official taken out in a week. But here is the history the West refuses to learn. You can cut the head of a cobra, but if the nest is full of eggs, you have achieved nothing. From 1953 coup to today, every time you decapitate Iranian leadership, you don't get a vacuum. You get a conveyable belt. Younger, angrier, and less willing to talk.
The most advanced fighter jet on the planet, a $100 million stealth aircraft, was just hit over Iran. And the weapon that did it? You won't see it coming either. Today, a U.S. Air Force F-35A was struck during a combat mission over Iran. The IRGC says its air defense systems engaged the aircraft at around 2:50 a.m. local time, claiming the jet was struck and seriously damaged. U.S. Central Command confirmed the aircraft made an emergency landing at a regional base. The pilot is in stable condition. But the jet was hit, that's confirmed. Here's what makes this a big deal. The F-35 stealth works by defeating radar. It absorbs radio waves, makes itself invisible to conventional air defense. But Iran developed an air defense system that uses passive infrared sensors rather than radar to target aircraft. Passive sensors emit zero radio signals, meaning the F-35's electronic warfare suite has nothing to detect, nothing to jam. The footage released by Iran appears to show the F-35 being tracked through a forward-looking infrared system, similar to technology previously used by Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen. Iran has road-mobile air defenses that can hide and pop up virtually anywhere, giving aircrew very little time to react. The F-35 is invisible to radar. It is not invisible to heat. And Iran just proved it knows the difference. This isn't confirmed as a shoot-down. The jet landed safely. But if a $100 million stealth jet can be touched by homemade infrared tech, the stealth age just got a lot more complicated.
How did Iran manage to hit an American F-35 stealth fighter? Well, in modern warfare, there are primarily two kinds of anti-aircraft missiles: radar-guided and heat-seeking. The F-35 was designed to be practically invisible to long-range radar, but it wasn't built to completely hide from heat-seeking missiles. So how exactly did Iran missile manage to bypass the stealth technology of the U.S. F-35? Well, the secret lies in a major vulnerability that is its heat signature. Its geometry and radar-absorbent materials make its radar cross-section incredibly small, essentially rendering it invisible to traditional early warning and targeting radars. To give you some context, this is how a plane's radar signature compares to a bird's. But the F-35 is powered by a single Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine, one of the most powerful fighter engines in the world. The F-35 is heavily optimized to defeat radio frequency radar like the billion-dollar S-400 and S-300 missiles. However, stealth does not mean completely invisible. This engine produces a massive heat plume. Instead of using radar, modern air defense networks utilize infrared search and track systems. The answer is this short-range heat-seeking missile like this one. These passive sensors scan the skies for any heat anomalies. Because infrared search and track systems emit no energy themselves, the F-35's radar warning receivers would not alert the pilot that they were being painted by a target lock in the same way a radar lock would. But how did the missile lock, and how did the F-35 use evasive maneuvers? Once an infrared-guided missile is launched, the dynamic of the engagement changes to a race of physics and countermeasures. When the missile's IR seeker head locks onto the massive thermal output of the F-35's engine exhaust. But the detection, the F-35 is equipped with a distributed aperture system, 6 infrared cameras positioned around the aircraft that provide a 360-degree spherical view. The distributed aperture system detects the intense heat signature of the incoming missile's rocket motor and instantly alerts the pilot. To break the lock, the pilot executes high-G evasive maneuvers while simultaneously deploying flares. If the missile tracks the flares but is already within a lethal radius, its proximity fuse will trigger the warhead. The resulting shrapnel and shockwave can cause significant damage to the aircraft's control surfaces, stealth coating, or internal systems without scoring a catastrophic direct hit, which perfectly aligns with reports of the F-35 sustaining damage but safely executing an emergency landing.
Can someone tell me why the US is so arrogant and they are always doing everything possible to hide the fact that they are being hit? Did you guys see this headlines? Look at what happened to their F-35 fighter jet. Iran is the first country on earth ever to hit and destroy their F-35 fighter jet. But what did they say? Look at the headlines. That is what I want you guys to see. You guys need to open your eyes so that you would know how these people manipulate breaking news. They talk of alert, claim. They don't say Iran crushed it. They say they claim, right? They say emergency landing. Emergency landing, what happened? It's the same thing they told us about the aircraft tanker, right? That, oh, it was an accident, it had a crash. What is wrong? Why are you being hit and you're always trying very hard to hide it? Iran got your F-35 crushed. That is the reality, and this is the proof. Why are you saying it is alert? There are claims. That is a reality. Your F-35s are not unhittable. The more you think they can dodge, the more Iran is finding the right ways to hit them. Wake up, people. Those who still think that these guys are the superpower, wake up before it's too late. They are not as powerful as you guys are thinking. They are just as normal as any other country. They can be hit as well, just as Iran is doing. They should thank God that Iran is not located somewhere around South America. The US would have been in serious trouble today.
While the generals play chess with jets, you are paying for it at the pump. Brent crude has blasted past 118 US dollars a barrel. Why? Because Iran has moved from defense to total energy siege. The Ras Al Khaimah hub in Qatar, the heart of global LNG, is in flames. 20% of the world's gas supply is offline. Qatar Energy CEO just dropped a bombshell. Repairs could take up to 5 years. Think about that. 5 years of energy scarcity because of a war that started with a strike on Iran's South Pass field. The person who sets the forest on fire should not be surprised when the wind blows the smoke into their own house. Israel struck South Pass on March 18, and now the whole world is choking on the smoke. Now, let's bring it home to Africa. Why is this a crisis in Ghana? Because the minority in our parliament is demanding access. Reports have surfaced that Ghanaian territory was used as a launch pad for the US strikes in Nigeria back in December. This is a deep historical wound. Ghana, the land of Nkrumah, the beacon of Pan-Africanism, are now a serving station for foreign air strikes against our neighbors. The minority is asking, where is the agreement? Was it ratified, or we are being traded away in secret rooms? A man who uses his neighbor's house as a shield must remember that when the house falls, he is next. If we allow our soil to be used for US wars today, who protects us when the fire turns towards us tomorrow? And in the middle of this chaos, a ghost has emerged from a comfortable mansion in the West. Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, has released his audition tape. He calls it the Cyrus Accords. He promises to open the oil taps and recognize Israel if the West just puts him in power. But Africa knows this story. We saw it in Libya. We saw it in Congo. The West loves to fly in leaders who speak perfect English and wear expensive suits, but have no base on the ground. A borrowed coat never keeps you warm. Pahlavi hasn't stepped foot in Iran for 40 years. Does he think 90 million people under bombardment want a king returned to them by the same people dropping the bombs? Here is the bottom line. Israel has mandated bomb shelters in every home since 1951. That isn't a sign of strength. It is a monument to a failed political project. If you have to build a reinforced concrete room for every child born in your country, you haven't built a home. You have built a prison. The F-35 is down. The oil is at $118. The politicians in Ghana are waking up to a loss of sovereignty. The elites in Washington and Tel Aviv started this fire, but they have no idea how to put it out. What do you think? Is the F-35 hit a flag? Is the prince in Ezra a savior or a puppet? And most importantly, should Ghana be involved in US military strikes? United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world. In the United States of America.